Hey gang, Tony Fontana here, in a little bit of traffic. So, I had a conversation with a good friend of mine today, and we were talking about ego. And I kind of gave her my own opinion how ego itself can really hold you back. It can really set you back a lot when you exercise your ego in all areas of your life. And started thinking about this, and we were talking about doing videos and things like that. And she said, you haven't done a video in a long time. Well, it's only been a couple of weeks, but I figured let me do this one because it weighs on my mind. There are 7 things that I believe one needs to do to not have ego be front and center in every single thing that you do in your life. And one of the first, and you might want to write this down, but one of the most important things is not always looking for occasions to be offended. How often, everywhere we go, we run into people that offend us. Sometimes we look for reasons to be offended. Well, I've started backing off that. I started realizing that by allowing someone to rent space in my head and allowing them to offend me, all I'm really doing is I'm giving them power over me. And I don't want that power. So I've been starting to release that nonsense, and it's actually been making me quite a bit happier. And another thing I think it's extremely important to do, boy, there's a lot of traffic. Another thing that's extremely important to do is let go of the need to always win. You don't always have to win every single argument. And we all do it, don't we? We get involved in a discussion with somebody and we have to win. We've got to be the person that wins that argument. It's really not always necessary. Let go of your need to be right. That's number 3. What's important here? Sometimes it's okay to say, hey, you know what? You might be right about that, because leading to the argument, to the stress level, to be right, and you may be right. What's the accomplishment? All you're doing is you're telling the other person that maybe they're just not as smart as you. You're giving them some information about themselves. You're really just basically giving them an opportunity to defend themselves, and all that's going to do is escalate. And quite frankly, it's just not necessary. In my opinion. There's another thing. Number 4 would be let go of your need to be superior. To be superior. This is really, really important, because oftentimes we're all one. We're all connected to each other. And having that need to be better than someone else, wow, it really can affect you if that's your personality. If you always have to be one up on the next guy. It's an old story about a gal that lived up in the Upper East Side of New York City, and she went to her hairdresser, and she told the hairdresser that she was leaving for Rome for almost 30 days. She was very excited about that, and the hairdresser basically stopped her dead. She says, "Italy? Why would you want to go to Italy? I mean, that is just, it's a horrible place to go. It's dirty, it's expensive, and it's filled with Italians. Why would you want to go there?" So she said, "Let me ask you, how are you getting there?" She said, "Well, I'm going to fly on United Airlines." She said, "United Airlines, they're the worst airline in the country. Their on-time service sucks. Their staff members are stupid, and they charge for everything. They're horrible. I'm surprised you'll even get there flying on United. It's a terrible airline. Where are you going to stay?" "Well, I'm going to stay at the Terra della..." "Stop. I know exactly where you're staying. The place is a hovel. One of the worst hotels in Rome. They're overpriced like all the hotels in Rome, and their staff, they're just totally surly. You're going to hate it there. The rooms are filthy. I hate that place. I would never go there. I would never stay there." She said, "Well, what are you going to Italy for anyway? What's the purpose of this trip? I mean, you're going to waste your time." She said, "Well, I'm hoping that I'm going to meet the Pope." And this woman just ripped her apart. She said, "Meet the Pope? Yeah, you like and a million other people." She said, "By the time you see the Pope, he's going to be about an ant size. That's how big he's going to be to you. You're really not going to see him. You're definitely not going to meet him. It's just a waste of time. Anyway, enjoy your trip." Well, the woman comes back after a month, and the hairdresser says, "Well, how was that trip to Italy?" She was very sarcastic about it. And the woman said, "Well, I got to tell you, we get to the airport, the airline was overbooked, so they bumped us up to first class. I had a really handsome flight attendant. He was unbelievable. He treated me like gold. It was amazing. And guess what? They didn't charge me for the upgrade." "Well, how was the hotel?" "Well, the hotel, jewel of the city. They just spent $7 million on a renovation. It was absolutely unbelievable. They were also overbooked. Must be some kind of holiday. And I got bumped up to the presidential suite at no expense to myself. The staff couldn't have been nicer. It was just amazing." She said, "Well, that's amazing to me. I can't believe you went through all that." She said, "You didn't get to meet the Pope, right?" Well, here's a crazy thing. We're walking around Vatican City, and one of those guys, the guards, the Swiss guards that hang out there, he tapped me on the shoulder and